So this video is relevant to all the people out there with the tendency to people please, myself included, and with the tendency that they'll want to avoid creating conflict with the people they care about, which is essentially a good thing. But with the tendency maybe also to kind of withhold their own opinion, withhold what they're feeling, withhold um, what's on their heart due to fear of the other person or due to fear of how the other person will react. And it's relevant whether it's in relationships, friendships, family, or a business partnership for that matter. Um, Relevant to all of them because the problem is that even though people probably are trying to do it from a very humble place, from not needing to express themselves if it kind of interferes with the whole dynamic of the situation or the whole dynamic of the relationship, or if it can create conflict, and so they rationalize that their opinion is not that really that important to be expressed in that way, or what they're feeling isn't important to be expressed. What happens essentially is when you're doing it out of fear of how they'll react, or out of fear of what they'll do or say or whatever, essentially doing it because of them, withholding it because of them. Because if it's something that you decide on your own, if it's something that you're like, hey, actually, if I did this, it would really harm that person, and I don't want them to be sad, then that's okay. But if you're doing it because you fear them being sad, if you do it because you fear them being angry at you, then that will really make you do it for them essentially instead of doing it for yourself. Because if you just decide on your own, then that's fine. That's a whole different thing. And so it's a very subtle but big distinction there. Um, but essentially, what's happening is that when you're doing it for them, you're learning or you're feeling that you need to withhold yourself for them. You need to hold back on who you are for them. Essentially, they take away that freedom of yours to express yourself as you are. They take away the freedom to be yourself, and so essentially you'll start feeling oppressed by that person if it goes over time and they keep doing it to you, or you keep doing it to yourself, because really it's not really them doing anything to you, it's you deciding to let them control your behavior, so that their emotions dictate what you're expressing and not expressing. And so if it's going over time, you'll start feeling really oppressed by them, and then you'll start resenting them to the point where you'll hate them so much that you'll do something to harm them, or you essentially just quit whatever relationship it is. Whether it's a friendship, you'll cut it. If it's a partnership, you'll leave your job. If it's a relationship, you'll break up because you're resenting them that much. And so the mere fact that you're trying to avoid something that might just be a very small, very very small conflict will actually build up to you leaving the relationship just because you're trying to avoid it, instead of facing the conflict in the best way before it builds up and become a huge issue, and then facing it and bringing it up. Maybe it's very very uncomfortable, but chances are if you bring it up at an early stage, it won't really be a big conflict, versus bringing it up after a year or after just a couple of months or maybe after a week, just where it's actually already built up inside of you. So now it's coming out very, very intensely, versus you saying, hey, this small thing bothers me, or hey, I feel this thing, or hey, this is my opinion. When you let it be over time, it will build up and become bigger and bigger and bigger. And so that's why it's so important, because you will really start resenting the other person to the point where you'll get annoyed at them even for just breathing or for just being in the room. You'll want to punch them in the face because you have so much resentment built up for them essentially. And so if you bring up the conflict and you get it solved in a nice way, all that resentment wouldn't be there. And so if you find yourself being angry at the way they breathe, being angry at the way they sleep, or way they talk, or way they eat food, chances are that there's something going on below the surface that you're very upset about, that you haven't solved with them. And one of the things that could be is that the fact that you haven't, or you don't feel able to express your opinion, or you just have avoided expressing your truth, or it's sharing what's in your heart. So anyway, if that's you, I would suggest that you'll bring up the conflict, that you'll take up the argument, or that you'll just express your opinion a little bit more. And if it's a huge issue for you, next week I'll post another video on how you can, in the best way possible, express or take up a conflict without it actually damaging the relationship or without it hurting their feelings or making them very upset. So how you can really do it in the best way possible to avoid the conflict being big. So yeah, if you like this video, chances are you'll like that one as well. Regardless, that's my 2 cents on the subject. Thank you for watching.